I'm getting into so many different areas that are all aligned. Singularity of my focus and the control of my impulse that has expanded time for me. But the one common denominator in all the descriptive adjectives of discipline and habitual behaviors and all the commitment that's necessary is desire. Since 1981, Justin has been producing world-class Bordeaux-style wines from Paso Robles on California's Central Coast. As the pioneer of Paso, Justin wines are what put Paso Robles on the winemaking map. The Justin team believes that wine should be exceptional from every angle, which is why their team uses boutique winemaking practices like hand harvesting and hand sorting. With a rich history of accolades, Justin produces exceptional wines and is proud to be America's #1 luxury Cabernet. Whether you're the first-time wine drinker or a wine aficionado, Justin has a wine for every celebration and occasion. Visit justinwine.com and enter promo code Playbook20 for 20% off your order. Justin offers the perfect holiday gifts for clients, colleagues, friends, or family. Be sure to check them out at justinwine.com to receive 20% off your order for a limited time and use the promo code Playbook20.
There he is.
And look at this handsome devil.
David, good to see you again, my man.
Great, Todd. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you
How
as
are
well.
you?
I'm great. It's a nice, not even early Saturday morning. Here, I'm just about to go off and start being a Uber driver for all my kids' sports.
Nice.
Where is here? Where are you?
So New York City is home, but today we also have a place in Kelowna, British Columbia, the mountains of Canada. So that's where we're at today.
I realize you're in New York City. So am I. We're neighbors. We'll have to grab a coffee.
Yeah, all the time.
Coffee. Beautiful. Let's dive right in. I wanted to ask you so many things. Our community is in for such a treat. But from coaching so many elite professionals in all different industries, what is something that you've discovered that they do that might be a commonality to actually win?
Well, I mean, David was just talking about it. I mean, it's really hard to pull any amount of your capabilities out of you if you're not going to be disciplined and consistent with whatever it is that you're trying to get better at. Like, there's so many people that have come to probably all of us at some point in time, and they say that they want something, but then when you just take a look at the practical application of them pursuing that thing, they're just not putting in the reps in order to get better. And so that's a big thing. It's just like the people hear it all the time, but it's a cliche for a reason: discipline and consistency. And then I'd say the other thing is that they have a maniacal focus on very, 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 very few things. Meaning, like, David, when you take a look at whether it's your success in your career or the people that you've been around, they didn't grow businesses maybe because they had 17 different channels that they had going for them. They had like one. In fact, there was a big study that was done on the growth of what they call unicorns in software companies. And what they found was the unicorns in SaaS, the ones who got to $1 billion plus valuations, they actually only mastered one channel. And it could have been like direct outreach, or it could have been ads, or it could have been content like HubSpot. So you take those ideas from business or sport. Kobe, and working with Kobe literally just practiced a couple of ways to beat a guy on the dribble. And he mastered those drills over and over and over and over again. So just, my experience.
It's so true. I just became chairman of Napoleon Hill Institute, and the influence on my life with Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, How to Sell Through Life. And
so wait, I'm going to stop you right there, David. It's really funny because I have, in order to make this work, because normally I'm in my studio and I've got like TVs and stuff like that. I've got my phone mounted up against that book right there.
So, but it talks about, in Napoleon Hill, singularity of focus, control of impulse, in the drifting philosophy of controlling impulse. And the common denominator within that aspect of understanding a singularity of focus, that doesn't mean you won't end up with 17 businesses with Elon Musk and being
No.
the director of efficiency of the United States or whatever else the guy's going to do, because I'm getting into so many different areas that are all aligned singularity of my focus and the control of my impulse that has expanded time for me. But the one common denominator that's inherent in all the descriptive adjectives of discipline and habitual behaviors and all the commitment that's necessary is desire. And the one desire that seems to be the common denominator, and we've been blessed to work with the best in business and sports all over the world. There's only one common denominator. It's the desire that you must be what you can be. Because if your purpose is not greater than the pain, there's going to be plenty of mistakes. I think personally, most people, the biggest mistake they make is they don't make enough mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, because if you have a desire that you must be what you can be, even if you're not going to be that great, like I was in football,
Yeah.
I just had a desire that I must be what I can be in football. It doesn't mean that I was going to make the NFL, but it meant that within the realm of everything else that I was going to do, that I learned that my purpose was greater than the pain. And when you are as lack of talented as I was in college, there's a lot of pain when I played college football, but my purpose was much greater than that, which makes my life so easy. Even I would say less pain than losing over $100 million and going bankrupt than there was being as shitty as I was at football in college. There's a lot of pain at 147 pounds. You know what that feels like, don't you, Craig?
Yeah.
Amen. This is awesome. Such a perfect conversation right now. And Todd, one of the other things I saw you talk about, which really moved me, was the importance of an ego death in order to get to your next level.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you described that, I thought that was so powerful. Can you unpack that?
Yeah. Typically when I'm sharing that, it's in regards to like when Kobe and I had met in order to really what ended up becoming the Black Mamba. He was going through his, criminal case back in 2003. And when he reached out to my mentor originally, this guy, Harvey Dorfman, who's like the giant of the mental game industry, um, Harvey said, "Oh, you need to talk to Todd because he really focuses on identity-based performance." And so when he came to me, his words that he would say is, "I'm losing my edge." And I said, "No, you're not losing your edge. You're going through an ego death." And an ego death happens when, for any people that are listening, if you're someone who is constantly pushing yourself to limits, you're constantly striving to do more and more difficult things, the version of you that has gotten to a certain level is no longer useful to get to the next level. And so that there needs to be an ego death that happens there. And so Kobe, in that example, he played through what I call like the innocent archetype. He was the young 18-year-old kid who came into the NBA. He was Michael Jordan's little brother and all that. But now he was going through some very serious things. And if he didn't accept that that was a new reality and accept the fact that no one was going to view him the same way, but if he tried to play through that particular ego type, he was going to get caught in a purgatory, and it was going to be painful and difficult, and he was going to have lots of struggles and challenges. So there's an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. What's the next version that we can go into? And I mean, I talk about that in my book, The Alter Ego Effect, about how we can use identity as a way to help us morph and change and transform far more quickly than just attaching new habits to our lives. Because your beliefs, your attitudes, your values, your behaviors, your actions are all stacked on top of an identity and how you see yourself. So this ego death happens.
I got to interrupt because I got to
Yeah,
leave. I'm in Egypt, but I just have to tell you this. That Alter Ego Effect book is one of the greatest books I've ever read, and I wish I would have read it when I was young. I would have put Tony Gwynn's baseball card in my hat, and I would have been the greatest hitter of all time. If you haven't read Alter Ego Effect and followed unbelievable stuff, it will change your life. Both of you, I apologize, but we're in Egypt. It's my last night. My wife's waiting.
go ahead.
Reach out. I want to catch up with both of you guys. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for giving me a few.
This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Therapy is a great tool for facing your fears and finding ways to overcome them, because sometimes the scariest thing is not facing our fears in the first place and holding ourselves back. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/playbook today to get a 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/playbook. Imagine starting a small business, your first customer, first hire, first real paycheck. But everything isn't just exciting, it's scary. That's where JustWorks come in, the all-in-one platform that supports small business growth. Access seamless tools that help with benefits, payroll, HR, and compliance with transparent pricing. It's time to make payroll painless, run payroll in 90 seconds or less, and automate payments so you can set it and forget it. Did you know in 2023 alone, they processed over 25.6 billion in trusted payroll customers? Don't worry about the paperwork piling up either. They take care of payroll tax documents and reporting to help you stay compliant. Visit justworks.com/podcast to join the thousands of small businesses that trust JustWorks to take care of payroll, benefits, compliance, and more. That's justworks.com/podcast.
I love what you're saying too, because I wrote a book last year, The Reinvention Formula, from Wall Street to what I'm doing now, hit Wall Street Journal bestseller. And I think there's a misconception of reinvention. It doesn't just mean a new career. I mean what you mean, brother. You articulate a little bit better than I did, but just constantly reframing and reinventing your consciousness, right? Because as you go to new levels, the habits, all the stuff that was associated with that identity, it can only get you to where you are. But if you want to keep expanding, then you have to reinvent that, and you have to kill off what got you here to be available, which can propel you somewhere further, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you just think about how a lot of the world of self-help and personal development and leadership languages things to people is um, when people are trying to find their mission, their purpose, and if there's anything that people could take away from this part of the conversation, this is typically one that people resonate with is anytime if you just raise your hand in the chat if you've ever had a difficult time when someone says, hey, you need to have a mission for your life, you need to have a mission statement for your life, or you have to have a purpose statement for your life. Okay. Now the challenge with that is we start to take all of these different roles that we have, all these different areas that we play in, and we try to encapsulate it down to like one statement. It's very difficult when reality is human beings, we live in context and we have many different roles that we play. So if I said to you, hey, Craig, what would be the mission statement that you would have as for your career? What would be the mission statement that you would have as a father or as a husband or a wife or whatever? When we start to actually limit our identity down to one specific thing, it becomes a lot easier for us to mold and shape. And so that's the work that we do, or that I do with professional athletes or entrepreneurs and leaders, is start to segment their life and then be very intentional about the person that shows up in those very specific areas. And that's actually how we end up getting massive amounts of transformation with people, because it's our brains are built for context, and we're just applying these proven principles into something a lot more specific.
I love it. And also, there's a misconception about transformation in the time. Sometimes transformation can happen in an instant, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's so funny that you bring that up, because I was just talking to one of my NHL clients about it, and he's just going through a bit of a challenging time right now. And through that challenging time, he was starting to place rules on how long things were going to take. And I said, don't do that to yourself. Like the amazing thing about the human experience is there's like wormholes and warp speeds and stuff to thought. And like once you start aligning, the way that you're perceiving yourself with the way that you're feeling about yourself, and then the actions, that's what I call like the triune athlete. That's what I built my business on, was doing speeches back in 1997 on the triune athlete, the mentally, emotionally, and physically tough athlete. That when you align these three things, now these pipes are now lined up, and you can get all of your capability coming out of you. So you're 100% right. Like, it's not about time. It's about sometimes the commitment to it, the suspending the disbelief that it has to take a long time, and allowing these, kind of laws to just take place.
One of my favorite words, allowing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Being able to receive what's already here, but we have to be available for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways,
Yeah.
there you go.
Now, awesome stuff. I know our community is going to be obsessed with you in 2 seconds. What are you most pumped about right now? And how can our audience and so forth maybe get involved or stay informed?
I mean, beyond the phase of life I'm in where it's being a dad, the thing I'm most pumped about is going into the next 6 weeks, the Alter Ego Effect book, because we're in this season of like, people are thinking about next year and, transformation and stuff. So like the book always spikes, which then means that, people start reaching out in January and February with like, oh my God, I wish I had this book, kind of like what David was saying before. So I'm always excited for like the start of the new year and what's coming down. I'm writing another book called Unapologetic, which is very much the attitude that I would say is one of the hallmarks of the amazing people that I've had the chance to work with and be around. Is they're just wholly unapologetic for who they are, how they show up, what it is that they want, and they're going to move heaven and earth in order to make that happen. So that, and yeah, those are the kind of the two main things that I'm excited about right now.
You speak my language, brother, with the ego death and unapologetic, authenticity, and all that stuff. Great stuff. Thank you so much for stopping by today with these nuggets. Let's do many more things, and especially if you're in New York, we'll connect offline.
Absolutely. Cheers. Thanks for having me, Beb.
Have a good weekend, brother.